Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars. Let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today, because on the lower time frames, we are seeing some insanely volatile price action here. So what I want to do in this video today is actually start on the higher time frames and then zoom in from there. So as the video continues, I'm going to lower and lower time frames, starting off here on the 1 month time frame for Bitcoin, because a lot of people are flipping very bearish right now in the short term. But I just want to zoom out to this higher time frame here to show that we were going lower and lower on this 1 month time frame. But if we just look at this candle from last month here, to me personally, this looks pretty bullish. So especially if we now get a confirmed candle close on this 1 month time frame above the all-time highs, that should be a very strong bullish confirmation signal that we are likely going much higher after that. Obviously, we can get a big wick to the downside, perhaps even a red month here, but to me, it would seem most probable that eventually we are going to continue to the upside here after we have seen this recent price action on that 1 month time frame. Now, same thing here on the 1 week time frame. This also just looks like an uptrend to me. And obviously, we saw some resistance around that previous all-time high that we set in March. But that was to be expected. And that was also something that I talked about in my videos before we even got the rejection from the previous all-time high. So again, to me personally, this doesn't look like a full-on reversal back to 50K or anything like that. I just think there's a lot of uncertainty in the market right now. Obviously, the US elections are going on. Personally, I don't want to dive into that on my channel because this channel only focuses exclusively on technical analysis. So as I've been saying recently in my videos around the elections, we should be expecting a lot of volatility, and that is exactly what we have seen so far. You can see the same thing here, just a clear rejection from that all-time high on the 1 day time frame. Now that we are on the 1 day time frame, I do want to say that, I mean, technically speaking, we are still just breaking out above this descending channel. So if we would now fall all the way back below 66, 65K or something like that with confirmed daily candle closes, then we can start talking about a bigger reversal to the downside. But for now, to me personally at least, this just looks like, we are having some uncertain times in the market and we are just seeing some volatility because of that. Besides that, if I take a look at this 1 day cup and handle pattern that you can see right here, this has already broken out to the upside. I've covered this extensively on the channel as well. And technically speaking, this is still targeting 80,000 US dollars for the Bitcoin price, unless we invalidate this pattern here. So the point of invalidation would be the point of the breakout, which is at about 66.5K for the Bitcoin price. So yes, if we do get a daily candle close below that level, that would be quite bearish on the 1 day time frame, because then we would invalidate this bullish pattern and basically be trading back inside the range here. So with the invalidation of a bunch of bullish signals that are currently active, we should expect that to have some kind of bearish effect on the Bitcoin price. But of course, that is not financial advice. I'm simply telling you what I see in the charts, and you can do with that information what you like. Now, if we actually zoom into the lower time frames that I typically cover on the channel here, so the 1 hour and the 4 hour time frame, starting off on the 1 hour time frame here, because I want to show you how I actually drew this Fibonacci extension here. So this is 1, I took it at this wick low, then 2 is this wick high, and 3 is this wick low here. Now the reason I'm showing you this is because these Fibonacci levels have been very accurate here. We saw 2 rejections here from the 2 Fibonacci level, sitting at about 72.7K. And then after we broke below the 1.618 Fibonacci level, we immediately fell to this next Fibonacci level below that, sitting at about 69.1K for the Bitcoin price. So we got a bounce back to the upside and then perfectly rejected from this 1.618 once again, sitting at about 71.3K. Now, personally, when I saw that rejection, I of course opened a short position, and this led to a 130% gain on that trade. And of course, I share all of my analysis in my trading signals group as well, completely for free. So if that is something that you are interested in, then make sure to join the Road to 1 Million community on Discord. We now have over 2,000 members inside this group. All you have to do is join with the link in the video description. And then once you are in here and verified, simply go to this Trading Signals Access channel and follow these 3 steps right here to get access to my trading signals completely for free. Either way, coming back to this technical analysis, if we now get another move to the upside, these are some levels of resistance that I'm paying attention to. But besides that, I'm also paying attention to these Fibonacci levels right here. So this is just a Fibonacci retracement taking from this wick low all the way up to this wick high here, again on that 1 hour or 4 hour time frame. What we saw here is basically a rejection from this 0.236 Fibonacci level, and then we also traded below this 0.382 Fibonacci level, sitting at about 70.5K for the Bitcoin price. I think the most important level to pay attention to right now is actually this 0.5 level, sitting at about 69.6K, because in the case that we break below this level here, we will likely come down to retest this Fibonacci golden pocket in the short term, which is sitting between 68.4K and about 68.7K for the Bitcoin price. Now, if you have been following me for some time, you know that this Fibonacci golden pocket is typically very important to hold in these retracements here, because breaking below the Fibonacci golden pocket is typically quite a bearish signal in the short term. Of course, do keep in mind we are talking about a very small Fibonacci retracement here. So again, it doesn't have to mean that we are going all the way down to 30K or something like that. In the short term, if we get a confirmed candle close on the 4 hour time frame below this Fibonacci golden pocket, I am seeing that as a short-term bearish signal for Bitcoin. One last thing before I'm diving into the Bitcoin liquidation heat map and the Bitcoin ETF flow tables for today is actually the CME gap, which is still sitting at 67.2K for the Bitcoin price. And on the 1 day time frame, you actually have a better overview of it. So here you can see this gap that was created last weekend, and typically over 90% of CME gaps tend to get filled. So it could be the case that we are eventually going to come down to actually fill this CME gap here before potentially getting another move to the upside. The way I am personally dealing with all of this uncertainty in the market right now is just taking trades on much lower time frames, because it is simply more predictable right now. For example, that trade that I showed you earlier in this video, because we were just seeing this massive rejection to the downside. So obviously that is not financial advice, but I'm simply telling you what I am doing in this situation right now with all of that uncertainty in the market. And actually, before I forget, let me cover these ascending trend lines for Bitcoin that I was talking about in yesterday's video. So we actually saw a beautiful bounce exactly from that ascending trend line and then reverse to the downside, where we are currently retesting this once again. So I do think for now, the original trend line that I had here was the more accurate one so far, but in the case that we actually break down below that ascending trend line with a confirmed candle close on the 4 hour time frame, then I would be starting to look towards this dotted ascending trend line as a potential short-term level of support. Maybe it is a bit too small to see how I actually drew this. So if you really want to know, I would just recommend checking out yesterday's video. But either way, if we now break below these ascending trend lines, typically that will also be a short-term bearish signal, because in that case, we would be breaking an uptrend that we were in for a couple of weeks at this point. Either way, now taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, first of all, on the 3-day time frame. What you can see right here is that right now on this time frame, most of the liquidity is to the upside. So we have about $150 million worth of short positions that would get liquidated if the Bitcoin price reaches 73K. However, we must always take a look at the different timeframes, because this does change the situation. So yes, we do still have that liquidity to the upside here, but in fact, most of the liquidity is actually to the downside right now. For example, we have about $200 million worth of long positions that would get liquidated if the Bitcoin price reaches 68,000 US dollars. And there is also a big pocket of liquidity, also about $160 million, sitting at about 68.8K for the Bitcoin price. Now, in the case that you are not familiar with the Bitcoin liquidation heat maps, typically the Bitcoin price gets attracted to where there is the most liquidity on this chart. So I'm always on the lookout for these big pockets of liquidity, because as I said, typically the Bitcoin price gets attracted to those levels. And yeah, as of right now on this 1 week time frame, most of the liquidity is to the downside. So as I said, that is why I am on the lookout for a break of these trend lines here, because obviously breaking these trend lines here would make it much more likely that we are coming down to grab this liquidity here and perhaps even fill the CME gap at about 67.2K for the Bitcoin price. Now, lastly, taking a look at the Bitcoin ETF flow tables for today. Yesterday, we saw a relatively small inflow into the Bitcoin ETFs of about $32 million worth of net buying pressure on that day. You can see right here that a lot of the ETFs were net sellers yesterday, except for the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, which bought about $300 million worth of Bitcoin on Thursday. Now, of course, over the last couple of weeks, we have seen massive buying pressure from these Bitcoin ETFs, pushing up the price. But if we now start to see net outflows from these Bitcoin ETFs, then we could get the opposite effect, where if we are getting hundreds of millions of dollars worth of selling pressure from the Bitcoin ETFs every day, then this will have a downwards pressuring effect on the Bitcoin price. So that is exactly why I am looking at these Bitcoin ETF flow tables every day, because it could tell us something about where the market is heading next. Either way, this has been today's market update. Don't forget to join the Road to 1 Million Discord community and get access to my trading signals completely for free. As I said, simply go to this trading signals access channel and then follow these 3 steps right here. But regardless, if you do end up joining or not, thank you for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.